This is Mark Ford, and today I'll be showing you how to use number one Steelpan App GOLD with your MIDI controller. So without any further ado, let's go. Alright, so before I get straight into it, guys, please allow me to apologize if there's any background noise. It really couldn't be avoided at this point. So yeah, before we go straight into the app, I'm just going to explain my setup here. As you can see, I have my iPad. My iPad is already powered on. I have my keyboard as well. My keyboard is already powered on. And I have it connected via USB. So I'm using this USB to Lightning adapter, and it goes straight into the USB cable because of course regular USB cable doesn't fit into the iPad. So I'm using this adapter, and this allows me to connect my MIDI controller into the iPad. So now, straight into the app. Now that we're all set up with the MIDI controller, iPad, and the Lightning adapter, what we have to do is, number one, as I mentioned before, my keyboard is already powered on. Now that's important. The keyboard needs to be powered on before the app is open. So if you're trying to power on the keyboard while the app is already running, yeah, the keyboard is going to come on, but it's not going to work. The app isn't going to read it. So now that my keyboard is already on, I'm going to open up number one, Steelpan App GOLD, right? So if I tap it, you're going to realize, well, it works. However, if I use my MIDI controller, as you can see, there is currently nothing happening there. So I'm going to show you what I need to do. And for that, I'm going to bring the camera a bit closer to the iPad. Okay, so now I've brought the camera a bit closer to the iPad so you can see what I'm doing. As I would have showed you before, I'm hitting the MIDI controller and it appears not to get a response at first. Now that is because I haven't connected a channel. So I'm going to swipe up on the app. So when I swipe up, what you're actually going to realize, you're going to see the MIDI settings here. And you're going to realize that when I hit a note on the controller, channel 1 actually is lighting up. So yeah, it actually is reading the MIDI controller. But what I need to do is I need to select channel 1. There we go. Took me a while, right? So now you're going to see channel 1 is selected. And when I hit the MIDI controller, there is a response, right? So you can actually see now I am using, let me just get rid of the settings, right? So I'm using the MIDI controller, my hands aren't touching the iPad, and you can actually see how it corresponds. So any note that I hit with the controller, if I hit F sharp lights up. If I hit C lights up, right? Now, the issue, not really issue, but something that you should really bear in mind with the MIDI controller is that most likely, depending on the controller that you have, a keyboard may show more range than a pan. So if I hit my middle C on the keyboard, you're going to see the middle C with the pan light up. However, right, if I use other notes, then that's not currently going to show on the tenor pan. What I have to do is that I have to come here, bring down the octave to 3. If I bring the octave down to 3, then you can now see that the lower notes are lighting up, right? And not just the notes that are within the pan's range. So that's another thing that you have to check for in the settings, right? So remember, it's usually set to 4 because that's the range of the tenor pan, which would be C4, right? And you would see if I hit notes that are out of the tenor pan's range, nothing happens because technically those notes don't exist, right? So I have to come here, I can set it to octave 3 or octave 2 if I really want to go down, right? And right, so you can see the notes are lighting up, but it's gonna sound an octave or two down depending on how you set it. So there we go.